What if I told you that feeling might be the most dangerous illusion humanity has ever held? What if the silence isn't empty, but is instead the sound of a universe holding its breath? Our story begins not with a bang, but with a whisper from the void, a visitor that would force us to question everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos. On July the 1st, 2025, in the quiet, methodical world of astronomy, a new object was flagged by the automated sky surveys. It was given the designation 32 Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar object to ever visit our solar system. But from the very beginning, Atlas was different. It wasn't just a stray rock tumbling through space. It was an anomaly wrapped in a mystery, a statistical impossibility on a trajectory that felt less like chance and more like choreography. Astronomers who first plotted its course felt a prickle of disbelief. It was moving at a speed that defied our models of how objects should be ejected from distant star systems. Too fast to be a casual wanderer, yet not fast enough to be a simple gravitational slingshot. Then there was its size. Interstellar objects are typically expected to be small, eroded by eons of cosmic radiation. Atlas was colossal, improbably large, a giant that should have been shattered or captured by its home star system long ago. But the most unsettling detail was its path. This wasn't a chaotic, uncontrolled entry. 33 Atlas was executing a series of breathtakingly precise gravitational maneuvers, a grand tour of our outer planets in reverse. It swung by Jupiter, using the gas giant's immense gravity not to accelerate and escape, but to subtly shift its course. It then performed similar delicate flybys of Mars and Venus. Each encounter was a masterpiece of orbital mechanics, a cosmic ballet performed with the precision of a pre-calculated mission plan. It was as if our solar system was a library, and Atlas was a visitor, methodically browsing the shelves, gathering data from each world it passed. And then came the masterstroke, the move that sent a quiet shockwave through the intelligence and astronomical communities. Just as it was set to make its closest approach to the sun, a period when it would be at its most active and observable, Atlas did something extraordinary. Its trajectory carried it directly behind the sun from our earthly perspective. For weeks, it vanished from our sight, perfectly shielded from the prying eyes of our most powerful telescopes, including the James Webb Space Telescope. This wasn't just an inconvenient alignment. It was the single most optimal position for an object to perform a significant braking maneuver without being seen. By firing an engine or venting material against its direction of travel, while hidden in the sun's glare, it could slow down just enough to be captured by our sun's gravity, transforming itself from a fleeting visitor into a permanent, albeit distant resident of our solar system. The cosmic game of hide and seek felt intentional, a deliberate act of concealment that raised a chilling question. Why would a natural object need to hide? The existence of this celestial enigma cleaved the scientific world in two, creating a chasm between orthodox explanation and radical speculation. The debate wasn't just about data, it was about the very nature of evidence and the limits of our cosmic imagination. On one side stood the scientific establishment, a formidable front of reason and established models, armed with preliminary data from the James Webb Space Telescope, gathered before Atlas went into hiding. They constructed a plausible, if somewhat strained, naturalistic explanation. They pointed to its spectral signature, which showed a high concentration of frozen carbon dioxide. This, they argued, could explain its unusual activity and brightness as it neared the sun. The outgassing of these volatile ices, when heated, would create jets that could subtly alter its trajectory, mimicking purposeful maneuvers. Its immense size and speed. Perhaps it originated from a truly bizarre and violent stellar event in a distant part of the galaxy, a type of system we have yet to observe. Every anomaly, they insisted, could be explained by stretching our existing understanding of cometary physics. To them, Atlas was simply a black swan comet, an outlier, a 1 in a billion natural event, but a natural event nonetheless. It was a comfortable, safe conclusion that kept humanity at the center of its own story. On the other side stood a smaller, more audacious group of thinkers, with Harvard astrophysicist Abraham Avi Loeb as their most prominent voice. Loeb, who had previously raised similar questions about our first interstellar visitor, Oumuamua, argued that the scientific community was suffering from a failure of imagination. He proposed that we consider the Occam's razor of the situation in a new light. Is it more likely that a whole series of unprecedented, statistically improbable, natural phenomena all occurred in a single object? Or is it more likely that one single new phenomenon is the cause? That 30 Atlas is not a comet at all, but a piece of extraterrestrial technology? Loeb and his supporters pointed to the sheer accumulation of anomalies. It wasn't just one odd thing. It was everything. The speed, the size, the precise trajectory, the convenient concealment. Each one was a piece of a puzzle. When viewed in isolation, each piece could be forced to fit into a natural explanation. But when viewed together, they painted a picture that was far more coherent and, to many, far more terrifying. They argued that dismissing Atlas as a mere comet was a form of intellectual cowardice, a refusal to confront evidence that challenges our deepest anthropocentric assumptions. The debate was no longer about a rock in space. It was a philosophical battle over our willingness to accept a universe that might be far stranger and far more populated than we had ever dared to believe. If Atlas was artificial, what was its purpose? Why travel for millennia across the void only to perform a stealthy tour of our solar system? To answer this, we must venture into one of the most chilling and compelling solutions to the Fermi Paradox, the dark forest hypothesis. The Fermi Paradox famously asks, if the universe is teeming with life, where is everybody? The dark forest offers a terrifying answer. They are silent because they are hiding. Imagine the universe as a vast, dark forest at night. It is filled with countless hunters, all silent, all listening. In this forest, survival is paramount. The primary rule is to stay hidden, because any sound, any sign of life could attract a predator. If you reveal your location, you cannot know if the creature that finds you will be friendly or hostile. Given the stakes, the potential annihilation of your entire civilization, the only logical course of action is to remain silent, and, if you detect another civilization, to eliminate it before it can eliminate you. It's a cosmic game theory where the price of losing is extinction. In this context, the behavior of Atlas transforms from a curiosity into a potential threat. Let's consider its timeline. Its journey is estimated to have taken around 8,000 years. This means it left its home star system around 6,000 BCE. Think about what was happening on Earth at that time. We were just emerging from the Stone Age. We were developing agriculture, building the first primitive settlements. We were a species of no cosmic significance whatsoever. Now, fast forward 8,000 years, Atlas arrives at the precise moment that human civilization has undergone a technological explosion. In the last 150 years alone, we have gone from the telegraph to broadcasting our existence into space with radio waves. From the first flight to landing probes on Mars, we have become a civilization on the verge of becoming a true spacefaring power. From the perspective of a patient, long-term observer, this is the exact moment a species transitions from being harmless planetary fauna to a potential cosmic competitor or threat. The timing is too perfect to be a coincidence. This leads to the haunting possibility that Atlas is a von Neumann probe, named after the brilliant mathematician John von Neumann. A von Neumann probe is a hypothetical self-replicating spacecraft, an autonomous explorer designed to travel to distant star systems, gather information, and, if necessary, use local resources to build copies of itself to continue the exploration. It could lie dormant for millennia, a silent hunter waiting for a specific trigger. What might that trigger be? Perhaps the detection of a specific technological signature, like the sudden bloom of radio signals from a developing world. Atlas's arrival, timed so perfectly, looks less like a random encounter and more like a carefully planned reconnaissance mission. It has awakened to observe a new player stepping onto the cosmic stage, and we have no idea what the rules of the game are. This brings us to one of the most profound challenges in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. How do you distinguish a highly advanced piece of technology from a natural phenomenon? Arthur C. Clarke famously stated that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. We can update that for our purposes. Any sufficiently advanced stealth technology is indistinguishable from nature. If Atlas is an artificial probe, its disguise is nothing short of masterful. The cometary emissions, the spectral signature of carbon dioxide, these aren't just incidental details. They are the core components of a perfect camouflage. An advanced civilization operating under the brutal logic of the dark forest would understand that the best way to study a primitive, potentially volatile species like ours is to do so without ever revealing your presence. A direct, overt flyby of a metallic spaceship would cause global panic, chaos, and unpredictable reactions. It is the equivalent of a biologist studying an uncontacted Amazonian tribe by landing a helicopter in the middle of their village. You don't get authentic data that way. You contaminate the experiment from the start. But what if you could disguise your drone as a parrot? What if you could disguise your deep space probe as a common comet? You could get incredibly close, observe everything you need to, and the natives would either not notice you at all or dismiss you as a slightly unusual bird. The outgassing of volatiles wouldn't be a natural process. It would be a deliberate emission, a smokescreen designed to perfectly mimic the behavior of a comet while perhaps also masking the probe's true emissions, heat, radiation, or propulsion signatures. This reframes the entire scientific debate not as a search for truth, but as a potential first contact test. The controversy itself becomes the data. The outside intelligence isn't just watching our planet, it's watching our science. It's assessing our reaction to a profound anomaly. Do we rigidly adhere to old paradigms, dismissing any evidence that doesn't fit our preconceived notions? Do we succumb to fear and hysteria, treating the unexplained as a threat? Or do we approach the mystery with the one quality that might signal our maturity as a species, a deep, rational, and unshakable curiosity? Our response to Atlas, our very debate about its nature, is a mirror reflecting our own intellectual and emotional maturity. It's a test we didn't know we were taking, and our grade could determine the future of human contact with the cosmos. The arrival of 33 Atlas might seem like an isolated event, but it's crucial to understand that it is part of a larger, emerging pattern. It is the third in a sequence of interstellar visitors that have forced us to fundamentally rethink our place in the galaxy. First, in 2017, came Oumuamua. Its name is Hawaiian for scout, and it certainly lived up to it. This object was bizarre in every way. It was highly elongated, shaped perhaps like a cigar or a flat pancake. It was tumbling chaotically. Most importantly, as it swung around the sun, it accelerated away in a way that could not be explained by gravity alone. There was no visible outgassing, no cometary tail to explain this non-gravitational acceleration. It behaved exactly as a solar sail would, a thin, light craft propelled by the pressure of sunlight itself. The anomaly was so profound that it led Avi Loeb to first propose the idea of an artificial origin. Then, just 2 years later, came Toumai Borisov. Borisov was, in many ways, the opposite of Oumuamua. It was a perfectly well-behaved, conventional comet. It had a visible coma, a tail, and its trajectory was perfectly explained by the laws of gravity. Borisov was important because it proved that interstellar comets do exist and that they look pretty much how we expected them to. It provided a baseline, a control group for the experiment. It showed us what normal looks like. And now we have Atlas. It's a hybrid of the two. It has the cometary disguise of Borisov, but it exhibits the anomalous, purposeful-looking trajectory of Oumuamua, only on a much grander and more precise scale. This influx of visitors, the anomaly, the normal, and now the disguised anomaly, suggests something profound. Our solar system isn't an isolated island in an empty cosmic ocean. It's more like a harbor on a vast, interconnected galactic ocean, with ships of all kinds constantly passing through. This realization forces a monumental paradigm shift in our search for extraterrestrial life. For over half a century, our primary method has been SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We've been passively listening, pointing our radio telescopes at distant stars, hoping to eavesdrop on a conversation from light years away. It's like sitting in a cabin in the woods, waiting for a phone call from a stranger you're not even sure exists. The new paradigm is Artifact SETI. It proposes that perhaps we should stop just listening and start looking. We should be actively searching for physical evidence, for probes, artifacts, or even dormant technology that may not be in deep space, but right here in our own cosmic backyard. These visitors suggest that the aliens may not be out there at all. They may already be here, hidden in plain sight among the asteroids, disguised as comets, observing us with a patience that spans millennia. We have been searching the forest for smoke signals, while the hunters may have already been silently walking through our camp. This brings the narrative crashing down from the cosmic to the deeply personal, turning the lens from the stars onto ourselves. The presence of Atlas, whether real or imagined, serves as an impromptu, unscheduled final examination for our species. And the central question is not, are they friendly, but are we ready? Imagine for a moment that tomorrow morning, every major scientific body on Earth holds a joint press conference. They present irrefutable evidence. Atlas is artificial. We are not alone. What happens next? Does humanity unite in a shared sense of wonder and purpose? Or do our fragile, brittle institutions shatter under the immense psychological and existential pressure? Consider our social structures. Our societies are built on narratives of human exceptionalism, on the idea that we are the pinnacle of creation, the sole bearers of consciousness in the universe. The confirmation of a vastly older, more advanced intelligence would shatter that narrative instantly. It would be a blow to our collective ego, from which we might never recover. Think about our religions. For millennia, our spiritual beliefs have been centered on humanity's special relationship with a divine creator. How would these ancient traditions adapt to the knowledge that we are just one of countless children of the cosmos, and perhaps not even the favored one? While some might adapt and see it as a confirmation of a grand, universal creation, others would undoubtedly see it as a profound theological crisis, potentially leading to schism, conflict, or a collapse of faith for millions. And what about our economic systems? They are predicated on scarcity, competition, and short-term growth. The revelation of a civilization that has mastered interstellar travel implies a mastery of energy and resources that would make our entire economic model obsolete overnight. Would this lead to a post-scarcity utopia? Or would the fear of being left behind, of becoming a cosmic backwater, lead to a desperate, chaotic scramble for power and technology? The way we are currently reacting to the mystery of Atlas is the first line of data being collected by any potential observer. Do we see global cooperation among our space agencies to study the object? Or do we see nationalistic competition, with countries hiding data in the hope of gaining a technological edge? Do our media outlets report on the story with scientific rigor and a sense of wonder? Or do they descend into sensationalism, fear-mongering, and conspiracy theories? Every tweet, every news report, every political debate about Atlas is part of our answer. We are writing our own grade on a cosmic report card we didn't know we were receiving. And if the observers are looking for signs of a mature, stable, and rational species worthy of contact, our current performance might be giving them serious cause for concern. Let's flip the perspective for a moment. Let us step out of our own shoes and try to imagine the immense ethical dilemmas facing an advanced intelligence that discovers a world like ours, especially within the dangerous context of the dark forest. If you are a member of a civilization that has survived for millions of years, you have likely seen countless younger species emerge, flicker, and then extinguish themselves. You would understand the terrifying fragility of nascent intelligence. You would know that direct contact is an unimaginable gamble, not just for you, but for the developing world. Making overt contact with a species like humanity would be like a modern-day adult trying to have a conversation with a toddler who is holding a loaded gun. The toddler, humanity, is unpredictable, emotionally volatile, and driven by primitive, tribal instincts. We have a demonstrated capacity for extreme violence and self-destruction. We are currently failing to manage our own planetary ecosystem, how would we react to the sudden appearance of a vastly superior power? History gives us a grim answer. Every time a more technologically advanced culture has encountered a less advanced one on Earth, the result has been catastrophic for the less advanced culture: disease, subjugation, and cultural annihilation. Why would a cosmic encounter be any different? This is why the subtle, ambiguous nature of Atlas's appearance might not be a limitation, but a sophisticated and deeply ethical safety protocol. It's a way to gather the most crucial data about us without triggering our most dangerous impulses. They need to know: what is our technological trajectory? Are we on a path to sustainable planetary management? Or are we on a collision course with self-annihilation through nuclear war or ecological collapse? What is our social trajectory? Are we evolving towards global cooperation and unified consciousness? Or are we fracturing further into warring tribes? The ambiguity of Atlas allows them to gather this information without revealing their own existence, which could expose them to cosmic predators under the dark forest rules. And it protects us from the existential shock of contact before we are ready for it. It is the ultimate non-interference directive, a method of observation that respects our developmental autonomy. They are not making a judgment. They are simply watching to see if we will survive our own adolescence. The subtlety of the encounter is a sign not of indifference, but perhaps of a profound, ancient wisdom. Let's bring this back to the practical, messy reality of our world today. If we were to confirm that Atlas is a probe, who would speak for Earth? Who gets to make the first critical decisions that could determine the fate of our species? The terrifying answer is nobody and everybody all at once. Our global institutions were designed for a different era and a different set of problems. The United Nations is a forum for nation-states to negotiate terrestrial conflicts and cooperate on issues like health and climate. It has no mandate, no protocol, and no precedent for handling extraterrestrial diplomacy. The Security Council, which is meant to handle threats to international peace, would likely be paralyzed by the competing interests of its permanent members. Would the United States, China, or Russia be willing to cede authority over this monumental event to a global body? Or would they immediately classify their own data and pursue a unilateral advantage? The first moments of confirmed contact would likely be a chaotic scramble. The decision of whether to send a message in return and what that message should contain wouldn't be made by a thoughtful council of scientists, philosophers, and humanists. It would more likely be made by a handful of military and political leaders in a bunker somewhere, operating under immense pressure and with incomplete information. The first voice of humanity might not be one of peace and unity, but one of fear, suspicion, and military protocol. This highlights a glaring weakness in our global order. We lack a framework, a shared set of principles for planetary governance. We have no mechanism for representing humanity as a single, coherent entity. The arrival of Atlas, therefore, is a fire alarm, a stark warning that we urgently need to design new international frameworks capable of managing truly global, species-level challenges. We need to have these difficult conversations now, before we are forced to have them in the midst of a crisis. We need to decide, as a planet, who we are and what we want to say to the universe. Because if we don't, the answer will be given for us by the loudest, most powerful, and potentially most reckless voices among us. While the political and technical challenges are daunting, they pale in comparison to the far greater challenge of preparing our collective consciousness for this new reality. True readiness for contact is not about building better telescopes or new global committees. It's about rewiring the human mind. This begins with a revolution in education. Our current systems are designed to create productive citizens for national economies. They are, by their very nature, insular and terrestrial. We need to start fostering a true cosmic perspective from the earliest age. We need to teach our children not just the history of their nation, but the 13.8 billion year history of the universe. We need them to understand deep time, to feel the scale of the galaxy in their bones, and to see Earth not as a collection of competing countries, but as a single, fragile, and beautiful lifeboat, adrift in an immense ocean. We need to foster a comfort with deep uncertainty, teaching them that the most exciting and important questions are the ones we cannot yet answer. Furthermore, this preparation requires our diverse philosophical and religious traditions to begin the difficult but essential work of adaptation. For centuries, these systems have provided meaning and moral guidance, but they are almost universally built upon the foundation of human uniqueness. They must now evolve. They must grapple with the profound implications of a universe filled with other intelligent and perhaps even spiritual beings. This doesn't mean abandoning faith, but rather expanding it, evolving from belief systems centered on a single planet and a single species to ones that can embrace a truly universal perspective. It is the work of generations, a slow, deliberate process of expanding our circle of moral and spiritual concern to encompass the entire cosmos. This is not just an intellectual exercise. It is a necessary step for our survival and maturity. A species that is mentally and spiritually prepared for contact is one that will react with wonder instead of fear, with curiosity instead of hostility, and with humility instead of arrogance. It is the only way to ensure that our first encounter with the universe is not also our last. This leads us to a deeply unsettling and humbling thought. What if humanity is being actively evaluated right now? And what if the metrics being used have nothing to do with our technology? A visiting intelligence, having likely seen countless technological civilizations rise and fall, might not be impressed by our smartphones, our rockets, or our nuclear weapons. These might seem like primitive toys to them. Instead, they might be judging us on the one thing that truly determines the long-term viability of any intelligent species: wisdom. And how would they measure our wisdom? They would look at how we manage our own planetary home. They would see our ongoing struggle with climate change, our inability to cooperate and make short-term sacrifices for long-term survival as a sign of profound immaturity. They would see our catastrophic rates of biodiversity loss as a failure to appreciate the complex, interconnected web of life that sustains us, a sign that we are a species that destroys its own nest. They would see our persistent social inequalities, our wars, and our tribal conflicts as evidence that we have not yet mastered our own primitive impulses. From this perspective, our efforts to solve these global challenges take on a new and urgent significance. Building a sustainable energy grid is not just an environmental issue. It is part of our preparation for contact. Protecting endangered species is not just a matter of conservation. It is a demonstration of our capacity for stewardship. Fighting for social justice and global equality is not just a political struggle. It is a sign that we are evolving towards a unified planetary consciousness. We may be thinking about how to impress a potential cosmic visitor with our intelligence, but they may be far more interested in our character. They may be waiting for us to prove that we are a stable, wise, and responsible species before they are willing to extend a hand. Our greatest challenges, the ones we face right here on Earth, might be the final exam. Our report card is our planet, and right now, our grades are not looking good. Let's imagine for a moment that contact is made, not in a hostile way, but in a way that opens up a channel of communication and knowledge. The impact on our very definition of human would be transformative and potentially terrifying. Access to alien knowledge in biology, physics, computation could trigger a technological acceleration that makes our current rate of change look glacial. We might gain access to technologies that could end disease, solve our energy crisis, and unlock the secrets of the universe. But it would also raise profound questions about our own evolution. If we learn about alien biology and genetic engineering, the temptation to upgrade ourselves would be immense. Would we begin to edit our own genome to eliminate flaws, enhance our intelligence, or adapt ourselves for life on other worlds? If we encounter advanced artificial intelligence far beyond our own creations, would we choose to integrate it with our own minds to keep pace? This forces us to confront a pivotal choice about the future of our species. In doing so, we might become something more than human, but we also risk losing the very essence of what defines us, our messy, beautiful, flawed, and emotional humanity. Or do we choose to remain as we are, cherishing our natural biological heritage, but in doing so, risk becoming a permanent cosmic backwater, forever in the shadow of our more advanced neighbors? These are no longer questions for science fiction. The decisions we are making today about genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and the integration of technology with our bodies are preemptively shaping our readiness for a post-contact reality. We are right now defining what it will mean to be human in a universe we may soon discover is filled with other possibilities. We are writing the opening chapter of the next phase of human evolution, and we must choose our words carefully. Faced with these immense uncertainties, what is the wisest path forward? How can we prepare for a future that is so profoundly unknowable? The answer may lie not in trying to impress some imagined alien ideal, but in focusing on becoming the best possible version of ourselves. Instead of guessing what a superior intelligence might value, we should focus on diligently addressing our own known flaws. We know that our capacity for conflict is a danger to ourselves. We know that our ecological irresponsibility threatens our long-term survival. We know that our social inequalities create instability and suffering. The wisest path is to turn our attention inward and focus on solving these problems, not for the sake of some external observer, but for our own. This journey of authentic improvement has a powerful secondary benefit. It makes us a more stable, predictable, and trustworthy species. To an outside observer, a civilization that has successfully managed its planetary resources, overcome its tribal divisions, and established A sustainable global peace is a civilization that is safe to interact with. It is a mature adult in a forest of volatile adolescents. Ultimately, the best way to prepare for meeting a wise and advanced neighbor is to strive to become wise and advanced ourselves. We don't need to pretend to be something we're not. We need to genuinely commit to the hard work of self-improvement, to building a world that is more just, more sustainable, and more peaceful. This authentic journey may ultimately be far more valuable to a cosmic neighbor than any technological parity we could hope to achieve. They are not looking for a pale imitation of themselves. They are likely looking for a new, unique, and reliable partner in the cosmic conversation. But what if we have been looking at this all wrong? What if the very things we perceive as our greatest weaknesses are, in fact, our most valuable assets from a galactic perspective? Consider the universe on a timescale of billions of years. Ancient civilizations may have had eons to develop, to optimize, and to converge. It's possible that over these vast timescales, successful cultures tend to homogenize. They might develop into monolithic, highly stable, and perhaps even stagnant societies. They may have solved all their problems, optimized their social structures, and in the process, lost the messy, chaotic spark of creativity. Now, look at humanity. We are a symphony of chaos. Our politics are messy, our cultural diversity is bewildering, and our endless disagreements are frustrating. But this very chaos is the engine of our creativity, our unpredictable nature, our capacity for art, for irrational love, for rebellion, for sudden leaps of insight. These are the products of our flawed, diverse, and perpetually unsettled existence. From the perspective of a billion-year-old civilization, our chaotic creativity could be a priceless resource. We might be a wellspring of new ideas, new art, and new perspectives in a galaxy that has grown old and predictable. This suggests that a truly wise visitor would understand the immense value of our cultural ecosystem. They would favor a slow, subtle, and non-invasive form of contact. A dramatic revelation, a sudden "we are here," would inevitably overwhelm and erase our unique cultures, replacing them with a superior, homogeneous galactic standard. But a slow, gentle contact, one that allows us to develop at our own pace, would preserve the very thing that makes us valuable: our flaws, our chaos, our beautiful, unpredictable messiness. These may be our greatest gift to the cosmos. In the end, the true identity of the Tuakoti Atlas is almost secondary. Whether it is a natural comet of impossible characteristics or a masterfully disguised alien probe, its function in our human story is the same. Its enigmatic presence is a powerful catalyst for our own evolution. It forces us to lift our gaze from our petty squabbles and look to the stars. It compels us to ask the biggest questions. Who are we? What is our purpose? Are we alone? The mystery itself is a gift. It motivates us to enhance our collective intelligence, to build better telescopes, to collaborate across borders, and to push the boundaries of our scientific understanding. It fosters a more unified planetary perspective. When we contemplate a visitor from another star, our national borders and cultural differences suddenly seem trivial. The existence of a cosmic other helps us to define our own collective us, humanity. Most importantly, it forces us to consciously choose the kind of species we want to become. Do we want to be a species that reacts to the unknown with fear and suspicion? or one that responds with curiosity and wonder? Do we want to be a species that expands into the cosmos with the same greed and destructiveness that has characterized our history on Earth? Or can we evolve into something wiser, something more worthy of a place in galactic society? The mystery of Atlas is a mirror. It doesn't show us what is out there, it shows us what is in here. It transforms a cosmic puzzle into an unprecedented opportunity for civilizational growth. The final exam has been delivered and the test has begun. The question is not what Atlas is, but what we will choose to become in response to it. So, the next time you look up at the night sky, don't just see the darkness, see the potential, see the questions, see the reflection of our own future waiting to be written. What do you think? Is the silence of space a sign of absence or a sign of an intelligence that is waiting for us to grow up? What would be your first question for a visitor who has traveled for 8,000 years to see us? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the profound questions of our time. I wish you all the very best of health and clarity of mind. If this story sparked your curiosity, please consider subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the mysteries of our universe and ourselves.